Welcome to the Underground.
Turn me up, bitch!
My Little Underground with Peter A.
It's My Little Underground. I'm Peter A, and I have an email newsletter coming out this Monday, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so via the link in the episode description below. And you'll get a song I can't stop listening to, and plus a summary of the recent happenings here on My Little Underground. And this week, returning to the show for a third time, we have Joe Trainor of the LA band Dummy, and we talked all about the independent artist grind, Dummy entering the Sub Pop Singles Club, the big tour coming up this summer with Horsegirl and Lifeguard, bands I should keep a lookout for, the vinyl release of the first two Dummy EPs, and so much more with Joe Trainor of Dummy on My Little Underground. Joe Trainor, welcome back to My Little Underground. Third time's a charm.
Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah, lots to talk about this time around, but as we usually do, I love your Twitter. It's great. It's very spicy. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about that are not spicy, but interesting to me
Sure.
and important to talk about. I love the thing you tweeted about interactive websites connected to bands' music. Now, can you elaborate on this idea of yours?
That was actually just had something to do with like PR that I'm doing for another band. They have this band Vinyl Williams has this really crazy interactive website, and like if you like go through it and like kind of traverse it and explore it, you can actually find his new record, which isn't out for another few months. You can find it there to download if you just kind of like search around for it. So I was just looking for someone to possibly like write or cover about it, because I don't do a lot of like tech stuff when it comes to like relating to bands and using like tech in a way to like kind of like be an extension of someone's art or music. So yeah, I was just kind of like reaching out to the world for that. Yeah, but I don't have any other thoughts beyond that.
Okay, like what is like when you go to a website and then you can like just listen to somebody's album or buy a record off of what is it really?
It's just like this three-dimensional like
Okay.
psychedelic world that you can kind of like just explore around. It's just something. It's I feel it's more like, I guess, like a not a video game, but like I don't know. It's you just he does a lot of like 3D like design and stuff like that, and his like aesthetic is really futuristic and stuff like that. So like yeah, he just built a website you can kind of like just click around and see the world that like his record kind of lives in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of your PR endeavors, is there any other bands and artists that you think we should be paying attention to?
Let me think. I think the band Green Blue, they're on Feel It Records, the same label as Sweeping Promises. Their record I worked on, I think, is really good. I don't know. I've been sending emails all day, so my brain is a little like fried for like thinking about what specifically. There's this band Kareen from Bellingham, Washington. It's cool. It's real heavy, more like Mets and Fugazi kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're really cool, really good live band. I think they probably are playing New York on their tour. I'm not 100% sure of that, but yeah, the Posmic record Posmic tape that I worked on a couple months ago is really great. But yeah.
Cool. Another thing you talked about is this book, Our Band Could Be Your Life, written by Michael Azirad. Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah. And you talked about the grind of the band and how important is the overall grind for an independent band like Dummy. How important is it to you guys?
Well, we've been, as like individuals, since our teenage years, have been playing shows, booking shows, touring. We've been grinding our whole lives, like just because we love and care about music. And that book depicts like in the 80s where they're like the kind of network wasn't there in terms of like, you know, a real foundational structure like it is now. You just had to meet people and like help people through like phone calls, and like, you know, there wasn't email. It was just all phone calls, you trusting someone, building a relationship, them coming to you, to your city, and just building this like, you know, DIY network that fostered like culture and community. And it wasn't just like about, you know, getting the bag. And, you know, I think like that's really lost in a lot of ways in the current just way. People just like think like, you know, like there's a cheat code to getting signed, to getting a booking agent, to all this stuff, you know, like I said in the thing. And it just isn't that way. And it also can be like weirdly insulting when someone is like, how did you get a booking agent? How did you get signed? It's like, well, I worked fucking hard. Like, that's how. Like, I haven't, like, I didn't sit on the internet complaining for, you know, years being like, no one likes my band, no one pays attention to me. So like, you know, I don't have patience for that sort of stuff. Obviously there's, you know, rich kids that just get plopped in there and, you know, can get things handed to them, you know, for no reason. And there's obviously, you know, bands that like pop off really quickly with like a like, you know, a little like an EP or, you know, some hype or something. But, you know, it's rare that like word of mouth and hard work is kind of like the way bands get popular now. It's more just about that initial, like, you know, you have to put out your first record, it has to be this fully formed thing, and bands don't have time to develop. I mean, maybe I said it on this before, but like, I mean, early MBV sucks, and then they became one of the best bands of all time and put out one of the most important records of all time. So I mean, and they had that time to develop, you know, from their first record that just sounds like bad birthday party Cramps stuff to, you know, Loveless, which is considered, you know, an all-time classic. So I just, yeah, I feel like with our band, It Could Be Your Life, it was just all these people like with all the bands that are covered in that are all very different sounding bands, but they all have that common kind of like kind of coming from punk and hardcore. And, you know, obviously like Sonic Youth might be the outlier in terms of like, you know, Kim Gordon, I don't know, all of them, I don't know if they were like rich kids, but they were definitely like more like art kids, but also they were making extremely abrasive, uncommercial music. So like, even if they were rich kids, like they weren't like trying, you know, I mean, obviously back then they weren't like making like just radio music. They weren't trying to become famous. They were doing it for like the pure love of like making art. And, you know, so that's, you know, that whole book just kind of tells the history of like early indie rock DIY. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people don't, that to me, that book was like transformative for me. It's like just reading about like what it was like to be in a touring band during that time, which was not easy and it was scary. And, you know, you just you fucking worked.
I can only speak from, you know, a music fan perspective because I'm not a musician, but I have seen bands pop the fuck off. First album, major signing, big cosign, and then like album 2 and 3, it's like they show their ass. It's terrible. And I hear a lot of local artists on the scene, you know, I've talked to over the years have been like you're saying, whining and complaining. Why doesn't anybody care about me? This is not worth it, whatever. And I've heard some of these artists put out really good first albums for somebody's first album. And then I see a band like Dummy. It's like, you know, this music is incredible. And they're just out here, you know, they're playing shows. And the music is good, first of all. So that's why all this shit is happening for you, to me, because the music is good. I can only speak from a music fan's perspective anyway.
I mean, for me, I mean, there's obviously an element of like, you know, I've met and helped people a lot over the course of my life in like, you know, touring and DIY and just, you know, meeting and talking to, you know, kindred spirits or whatever. And I think that's you know, certainly an aspect of like Dummy getting a certain amount of like, you know, initial groundswell of like, you know, interest from our first EP. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, us keeping, you know, the quality of our music up and continuing to show new ideas. I mean, most bands have one idea when they start the band and then they never have any new ideas. And so, yeah, their second and third record, you're just like, this is boring. Who cares?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And with the dummy grind comes a lot of the negativity and all that stuff, like your van broke down,
yeah.
COVID, and just general expenses. And I'm reading about Lil Sims canceling her US tour because it's not cost effective for her. So when you hear about all these things and you go through some of these things, do you think the grind is worth it?
Well, I guess for me, like right now, Dummy, we never had the ambition of doing this amount of touring or like being this sort of band in the beginning at all. It was just like, we're making a new band. We just want to make good music. If we put out a tape, tight. But beyond that, I mean, we've just been given the opportunity to do that. And that's the only reason we're doing that. If it was just like, let's go on tour, we wouldn't be doing it. Like like the first tour that we did in December was like, our first like West Coast tour. It's just our first tour after our record came out. Then the tour we did in April was like, the tour to support the LP. And then this tour that we have was because we were asked to go on tour with Horsegirl. And then the European tour was because someone booked a European tour for us. So like, we're not just like doing it for no reason. It's all because opportunities are presenting themselves. And if they continue to present themselves, we'll continue to kind of like live this life that is honestly difficult. All of us are broke as hell and like, skating by, but like, we didn't think we were going to have this chance to like tour and see the world and show other people our music this way. And like, have Sub Pop put out a 7-inch and have Trouble in Mind put out an LP and have like, the kind of things that have happened. It's all been, very surprising. And like, we're very lucky in a lot of ways, but also, yeah, like all of us have worked really hard our whole lives within art to like, maybe this is the culmination of all that work. I thought Wild Honey was going to be the kind of the culmination of that work, but it just hadn't. And after it, I was like, I don't want to do that again because it was heartbreaking. But for Dummy, it's hard and, and it's, with COVID, that stuff obviously makes everything hard, but like just being in kind of like a rising band or whatever the fuck you want to call us, like, we're not making enough money to really like sit back and relax even a little bit. We have to like hustle and like, we're trying to like do that. And, of course, none of us want to like ask for help for people to like fix our van because like, in theory, we should be able to do it ourselves. But unfortunately, we just bought tickets to go to Europe. We just re-upped a bunch of merch. We just spent another 100 or like over $1,000 on the van. So we're like just in this shitty position. So we're like, well, if people want to help, if people didn't help, we would still make it happen somehow. But it's just, sometimes it's okay to ask for help. And I don't know, I don't feel any like, of course I feel a certain amount of embarrassment or like self-consciousness about doing it, but it's just none of us are making a ton of money in our jobs and stuff like that. So like, and we have jobs that make it so we can tour, and only poor, shitty paying jobs let you do that. So, it's interesting. It's like, it's weird balance of like, we have all this really great stuff happening and like, there is this possible opportunity for it to sustain us to some degree, but there is a lot of like work still to be done to like have that possibility, like, come into fruition. I don't, what word I'm trying to say, but yeah. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's hard, but we want to do it and we're stoked. And like, I mean, Europe is going to be insane because I've never even been to Europe. So like, I'm really excited just to see Europe. And then the fact that I'm doing it while playing music is just really cool. So
Janines really loved Europe. They told me they were, they just loved it over there. So I'm sure they're going to love Dummy too.
Yeah. Or they'll just be like, you sound too much like Stereolab.
Oh. Or the opposite is true. They're like, oh, you sound like Stereolab. Oh, great. Yeah. Come on in,
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about the rising band thing. And to me, I think when people ask, if I haven't been asked yet. So if someone asks me what new bands I should, check out, Dummy is one of those bands that come to mind, or like an Empath or something like that, like, or a Soul Glow or something like that. That immediately comes to my mind. Like, these are new bands right now that you should check out. So take pride in that. You know what I mean? Forget about the rising band's crap. You know what I mean?
I don't care. I mean, I don't care about that. It's just
I
that's
know
the position we're like, I guess, currently in. So
of course.
Which it feels, I feel very like goofy and self-conscious saying that. It's just, but that's just, that's the reality, and we're lucky.
Yeah. You joined the very special singles club recently, the Sub Pop Singles Club, with Mono Retriever and Pepsi Vacuum. You shared the singles with me before they dropped. I love them immediately. They're just fantastic songs, and they're just classic dummy tunes, or a sign of what's to come. How did you get this amazing opportunity?
Chris emailed us out of nowhere, and that's what happened. It was no like, we didn't do anything aside from them being fans and them reaching out and them being like, we want to do this, and we were like, okay. I mean, when I got that email, I like stood up immediately. I was like, what the actual fuck is this? And then I like ran, like Alex and Nathan were in their rooms, and I was like, Sub Pop's emailing us. What the fuck is going on? Sub Pop's emailing us. So like, it was, that came to be out of literally nowhere. That was not anything we sought out. So I mean, even in this moment, it's still very like, holy shit, my band put out something on Sub Pop Records. Like, that's wow.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's almost worth the grind, right?
Yeah.
You're doing you're putting something into the world, and somebody is noticing, be it a Sub Pop, or be it a podcaster, be it anybody. Somebody people are paying attention to you, which is insane. That idea is like fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, I still to this, I mean, the idea of someone being like, you know what, I'm gonna put on Dummy right now and listen to it and be like stoked to listen, is still a truly bizarre concept to me. I can't imagine someone doing it still. Even though obviously there are some people doing it, it's still very bizarre to me.
Yeah, you have the physical records in your hand. It's amazing. It's fascinating to me. It's like, it's when I heard about that, when you told me about that, I'm like, oh wow, like that's something. I love the Sub Pop single stuff. So with these songs, were they recorded part of a separate upcoming Dummy project, or what?
So they emailed us. They're like, it's obviously a single, so it's 2 songs, and we wrote the songs. We wrote, recorded, mixed, and mastered the songs in like a little over a month. It was all written for Sub Pop. For the singles specifically, like the 2 songs mirror each other in terms of like their chords and their subject matter. It's meant to be like just another extension of each other, and like an extension of like just a listening experience. It's not, it's meant to be listened as 2 songs, not like one song here and one song there. We approach everything in that, that way. And so, there is a conceptual nature, even if it's just two songs on a 7-inch. So, but yeah, totally written for Sub Pop. And they're not like, for me, they're like kind of like the bookend for like the first era of the band, I guess, in a way. Like, the next record, we need some time to collect new ideas, new pieces, new influences, new things for, whatever that. And I have no idea what that's going to be. Like, I have like 4 little songs like demoed, but like in our little phone that we record a bunch of stuff in, but like those are just like complete skeletons of what they could possibly be in the future. But right now, like, we're just so focused on being like a touring band and like a good live band. We're not really worrying about like the future of what the next LP will sound like. I don't even want to think about it. It's too stressful.
Great. I wasn't even going to ask about it, because I'd rather you just, do what you do, make it work. I like the recipe. So, surprise me with some new flavors. And I look at these singles, it's like rappers when they're actually like freestyle on like a Funkmaster Flex or a Sway, like, are you doing an original verse or something you have coming, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think about it like that.
Yeah.
So speaking of future projects, I know last time you told me there's a third Dummy EP in the works. Is that still happening, or are you just putting that in the back of your mind?
That's like a different thing. That's not in the back of my mind. It's like in the middle of my mind. It's because like we're still collecting kind of like the pieces for it. The idea right now is to take field recordings we make on tour and then use those as the basis for like individual like tracks. And it'll be an EP. It'll be all ambient, new age, quiet, minimal stuff. But we want to make sure we do the equal quality of that sort of music that we do with like our like rock music or whatever. So, and it's hard to make good, compelling ambient new age music. It's pretty easy to make that sort of music and just be fine. But we want to make it, dummy quality or whatever. So it's just like trying to figure out exactly how we want to build. Once we have all like the ideas, or all the like field recordings we collected over the tours, we'll kind of go back and be like, pick the best, like however many we want to use, and then go from there.
What about the first two EPs on vinyl release? What's going on with that?
September 3rd.
September 3rd. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that'll be out. I don't know when it's going to be like put up for pre-order. Soon, I think. But it'll be out for our European tour.
Oh, great. I can't wait.
When will this go up? I guess it doesn't matter, but tomorrow there's a comp we're part of that's coming out tomorrow, called Through the Soil 2. And it's a benefit comp for the Trevor project, and a song, like a B-side from EP 2 is on it.
Fantastic.
So there'll be like a new, it's not new, but like it's a song that was the original closing song for EP 2, but then I decided I liked this other, I liked Prime Mover Unmoved more, like in terms of like it's the context of like the whole record. This one's a little more like, so I don't know if broody is the right word. It's just a little more like downtrodden, but it's not, but it's similar to that song. They're very similar to each other. It's kind of like the light and dark versions of them. Like Prime Mover is the kind of more blissed out light version, and the other one's more of the darker. It's still like blissed out and stuff, but it's not. It's a little more. I sing lead vocals on it, so like that's a first for a Dummy song where I sing the main vocal and Emma sings on it. But yeah, that comes out tomorrow.
Can't wait.
It won't be tomorrory when people hear this.
Yeah. When this is going to come out this coming weekend, so it'll probably be out already.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, I mean, we're really glad to do it because Trevor Project is obviously, helps out LGBTQ plus people, and that's, a couple of us in the band.
There you go.
But and it's Pride Month, so yeah, it's cool. I mean, there's a lot of big names. I mean, like Julian Baker's on it, Faye Webster's on it, Horse Jumper of Love's on it. Then like a bunch of like They're Gutting a Body of Water, and I don't know, just it's a lot of like, I don't know. Yeah, just it's a lot of bands.
Yeah. I'm glad you're putting out the record for the first two EPs because my tape from the first EP is starting to go a little bit. It still plays well, but wow. Like, so I am excited for the vinyl because there you go. I want my Dummy physicals to last forever. US Tour 2.0 is kicking off this summer with Horsegirl and Lifeguard. And this time around, you're coming back to New York City at a bigger venue, Bowery Ballroom. Yeah. I am noticing you're playing bigger venues faster with Dummy than with Wild Honey, in my opinion. Do you think that's true or no?
I don't know. I mean, we're supporting Horsegirl, so it's not, it has nothing to do with us. With Wild Honey, I guess we only did a couple support tours, so I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't. It's hard to say. I don't. Yeah. I guess because I'm thinking of like, because we toured with Ceremony, and that was like not small rooms, but they weren't big rooms, and Cloakroom was the same. The big one was La Dispute, but that's obviously like thousands of people. So that's like the Horsegirl one, it's like mostly like 400 and 500 capacity rooms. So I'm curious to see how it goes because I like that band, and I think it's cool that like younger kids are making more noisy, weirder guitar music, and then I feel like that's kind of in short supply to some degree.
Yeah, I love the new Horsegirl album. It's so fascinating. It's very, it reminds me of, it's like a spookier Courtney's in a way. You know what I mean?
I can see that for sure. It's like a little bit more dark and a little more mysterious and detached than the Courtney's. And then Lifeguard is really fucking good. And I'm hoping like they make us look stupid every night. And then we have to play really, that wants us to up our game because they're so good. So that's cool. I'm like, bring it.
I can't wait. It's gonna be nuts. So Joe, thank you so much for coming on My Little Underground for the third time. You're welcome anytime to talk about whatever else you got going on at Dummy Camp. So let people know where to buy, stream Dummy stuff, where to reach out to you for PR inquiries, and whatever else you got going on.
Oh, just notdummy.bandcamp.com, Not Dummy on Instagram, and then for PR stuff, it's just stereojunkpr@gmail.com.
All righty. Thank you so much, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for having me.